welcome to another episode of the Dragon Yawn. I'm your host, Sifu Mike, and as you can tell, I am not coming from the mouths of tactical kung fu. Instead, I'm coming from the great and beautiful hardwood forest of the Black Bamboo Pavilion located in Pittsburgh, North Carolina. It's a very short drive from tactical kung fu in Durham, like 30 minutes depending on traffic. But yes, I am here as a guest of this man to hear all about the stuff that he's going to be talking about basically him, because he's awesome, right? And so this is LaoMa, and this is his place. This is where he trains. He does Tai Chi. Like I said before, you can think of him as like the Chuck Norris of Tai Chi, man. He's great. And so I'm here to ask him all about him. Okay, so you get to learn about him and why it's cool and why this place is so beautiful and he's so knowledgeable and just, it's good stuff, man. So without further ado, I'm going to leave it to you, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm very embarrassed right now, but I'm doing very fine. I'm doing very fine. I haven't talked about myself so much, except to myself. That's good.
Growing up, man.
So it's been 2 weeks. Good to see you.
It's been 2 weeks, and it's a much more beautiful day than the last time we were here. Yeah, and so it's a little windy. But it's not like 40 degrees, and we're not bundled up, so you can actually kind of see us better now.
Yeah,
right?
I am bundled up, but that's me.
Well, we're not as bundled up as we were before. Like last time, you could see our breath.
Yeah.
It was that cold. Just so you know, we are outside. If you're just tuning in, and they are building a house like way over there, and so you might hear some cars moving and whatever like that. It's outside, man. It's cool. It's ambiance. Right? But anyways, so let's get to the nitty gritty of you, alright? And so, I call you LaoMa. Lots of people know you by LaoMa, but what is your actual name?
Okay, my birth name is, first of all, I'm 78 years old. I was born in New Hampshire. I left when I was 18. And found out that when it snowed in New Hampshire, it doesn't snow in South Carolina. So I never went back. So I was there for my early 18 years of life. But it is my home, and I'm half French Canadian and half Polish. My mother is first generation American. I'm second. My father is probably third. But his people were in Canada long before America, so he's the original white man. Yeah, blame him for the French for all that's happened since. So, what was your question again?
Well, I was asking you about you, man. So you already covered a lot.
I did.
Yeah. So where you're from, and why you're here, and stuff like that, and but your name. So you're French Canadian.
French Canadian.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know, but French Canadians, almost by definition, have Indian blood. And I mentioned to you that I went to China in 1975 in a minority tour as an Indian. I mean, that was. I even kind of looked dressed like.
Yeah. You kind of.
It was theater. It was all theater anyway. You know what I mean? So it didn't matter.
They wouldn't know the difference, right? They wouldn't know the difference.
We don't know the difference.
That's true. That's very true. I got one guy. I wouldn't know he was an Indian unless he told me so. Yeah. That's Crazy Bear. I was like,
Crazy Bear. I know. I met him at tkfmma.
Yeah.
Nice guy.
Yeah. Very cool. We're here to talk about you. So you're got a little bit of Indian blood in you, French Canadian, and so you've got a, I guess, French name.
French name.
Yeah.
Almanzo Lamoureux.
Okay.
And the Lamoureux, I don't speak French, so that's not pronounced correctly. That's American pronunciation.
Right.
In fact, I usually say Almanzo Lamoureux. Just try to get people to understand the spelling of it more than anything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. So I just throw this in there because My first name, Almanzo, I'm named after my father. And in the French-Canadian tradition that I'm aware of, when you're named after someone, you don't pick up their name. So I'm not Raymond Jr. What they do is they take the middle name and the first name, and they switch them. So I'm Almanzo Raymond. My father's Raymond Almanzo. He was named after an uncle with my name.
Right.
So that's the way the names go.
That's very cool.
And Almanzo, like I said, I'm 78, and I've never met another Almanzo. Never have. And I've never shaken the hands of them. I said, hey, we got the same name.
Right.
That's pretty strange. You know?
Yeah. So maybe
And usually, if I'm introduced with my birth name, I also have a Chinese name that is real because it's on an internal passport when I lived in China. And it was given to me, the name was given to me, Ma Enzo is my Chinese name. It's 3 characters, 3 words. And that was given to me by a painting teacher when he said, you know, you need to sign your work now. It's better than garbage. So we need to have a name to sign it.
It's worth signing.
Yeah.
You don't suck. Sign here.
And I had to. He made me my first chop. You know, the seal.
Yeah.
And that's the name that he carved on it, Ma Enzo. Cool. And Enzo is in Chinese, it's the meanings in Chinese with the characters is always very tricky and very different and left to much interpretation. But it has to do with minority people. My surname, Chinese surname, is Ma, and Ma is translated as horse. And the character is a picture of a horse, because they're all pictures. And the horses are minority people. They're the ones with that name. So if you see or you hear anyone named Ma, and that would be the surname, then it's usually a minority, a Mongolian, a Man, a Uyghur, you know, the Muslim people in the West. So, but Almanzo, when I'm introduced to someone, it's usually a woman who will say, oh, Almanzo. And I said, oh, you read Little House on the Prairie? Because that's the only other place that I know of where my name is, you know, even in print.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go and Google it after this, you know.
Yeah.
See how many more are there? Because to me, you're the only one, right?
I am the only one. For me, I'm the only one. Jesus, you know, it's not. Yeah.
All right, so 78 years old, you've done a whole lot. So you were in the military?
I was. I joined the Marine Corps out of high school. I spent 5 years. 2 of which, as a young 18, 19-year-old kid, was spent in Okinawa, Japan. The 3rd Marine Division is what I was assigned to. And I drove a truck in a motor pool. And the 3rd Marine Division, at that time, was in those 2 locations. Now the Japanese are trying to get us out of Okinawa. So we're on Guam. The 3rd Division is in Guam and Hawaii. They weren't when I was in there. It was just in Okinawa. And
I do want to make it a point that all Marines are trained to shoot. Okay? So even though he drove a truck, man, he knew how to shoot.
That goes without saying. Yeah,
exactly.
I can't shoot. Yeah.
They have a marksman.
Very frequently, I shoot right out there. Just get up here, test out my little weapons. You know. Yeah.
There's a deer crossing my yard. Bam.
Yeah.
And after that, you have you're very well educated, right? And so.
When I finally went to college, I lived in Norfolk, Virginia. I got out of the Marine Corps in Norfolk, Virginia. Fleet Marine Force Atlantic is where I was stationed at the very end. And I went to Old Dominion. Actually, when I started, it was called William and Mary College Extension.
Yeah. Okay.
And William and Mary is up in Williamsburg, Virginia. And then when I finally got into school, and one of my proudest things, and I don't mind, is that I graduated undergraduate school, magna cum laude. And that is a surprise to me, and it still is, more than being proud, I'm surprised that I was able to get through I'm probably the first in my family on both sides to go to college. So it's a big thing, particularly with immigrants. Anyway, I don't want to get onto immigrants now. That's not the topic, but a big thing. And what was that again?
Now we're talking about your education, man. So you you graduated smart.
I did. And I didn't pay for it. I mean, I didn't bribe anybody. I did the work. I did it, and I loved it. I wasn't ready for college either. So that was a surprise to me that I did so well. I wasn't in college, but after the Marine Corps, and I had to drop out because I couldn't do it. But anyway, I did that, and then 10 years later, same college, but now it's a university. I got a master's degree in Asian history and culture. So I know a lot more about the Asian arts from the standpoint of where it fits in their culture. And that is something that I really feel very bad that martial artists who study Korean, Japanese, Chinese martial art do not know where they fit in that foreign culture, which means they don't know where it fits here. And where the martial art fits here, to me, is kind of in shopping centers and YMCAs, weekend kind of things.
Right.
But particularly in China, because that's what I know. I also, being in Okinawa in Japan, I know about the Asian martial arts. This is just coming to me, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
So, when I was stationed in Okinawa, we had Cinderella living. And that means that we had to be back by midnight.
Oh, I got you.
Or we turned into pumpkins.
Gotcha. I got you.
So,
that's funny.
So, so I had to sneak in and do all this kind of stuff. And so people would ask me, what do you do out there? Well, I didn't want to tell them. It's none of their business what I did out there, in the villages. And I told them that I studied karate, Okinawa karate. I didn't. I wish I had. I regretted mine. I wish I had. Right there where it comes from. And I spent all my time doing other sort of things. But anyway, 18, what are you going to do? So I studied Okinawa karate. So I got a reputation for being a kick-ass, Marine, other than a Marine, by doing it. And whenever any kind of bullshit would come up, I said, okay. And I start taking off my boots. I said, no. They call me Frenchie then. My name is French. No, Frenchie, we're just joking. I said, you sure? Put my boots back on. I take off my boots, I'm gonna kick ass. Anyway, I couldn't do anything at all, But I see Marines turn over these little Scotia cabs, just come in drunk, roll them over. That did karate. So that's what karate was to me. You get drunk, you roll over little taxi cabs, and you fight bulls. And you fight bulls in Okinawa by, you hold them, you got a ring in the nose, and there's a rope on the nose. And you go into a ring, and there's two bulls face each other. You're holding it. And all of a sudden, they take off, boom, and they hit each other. And they back up, and you're there with them. And of course, I got inebriated one night, and I did that, and all I remember was flying around on the end of the rope, you know what I mean? So, but I wasn't a karate expert, so I didn't know how to do that. Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're gonna live. So, all right. Master's degree, we got your education, so you're very well knowledgeable, not only having lived in Japan and China and studied these things, but you also have the academic
Yeah.
background and the knowledge of it. So
And,
you're
and,
super
and
knowledgeable.
that actually, you know, the master's degree came after I came back from the first sojourn I had in China, which was 1975. And I said, you know, I really got to study more of this culture and history. Unfortunately, I couldn't study just Chinese, which is what I wanted to do. But Old Dominion University was starting the master's program in the university status. So you could study every subject that they had that you're interested in, because there were few, you know. I mean, it wasn't a whole department, and I was able to study India, Japan, Korea, Indochina. Anyway,
So after the schooling and the Marine Corps, you've been doing martial arts. How long have you been doing martial arts for?
well, I was introduced to Tai Chi Chuan in 1964. And my very best friend, who's no longer with us, unfortunately, but he was studying Tai Chi with a teacher named William C.C. Chen, a very well-known Tai Chi teacher in America. He works out of New York City. And on one day, it was very, 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 just very important and seminal to me for lots of things. But he and his brother-in-law took me to their, in the morning, we went to Chinatown in New York, and they took me to their calligraphy class. So my introduction, and you know, I had seen this living in Japan and stuff, but I didn't, you know, wasn't anything I was interested in. They took me to this class, and it was on a 5-story walk-up on Mott Street. The teacher, named Ho Te-Wa, and he was from Hawaii. He had a studio in this, you know, the New York apartments are like narrow,
Right.
shotgun kind of apartments. And one big room in the back was his little studio and teaching space. So I sat there and watched what they were doing and tried to absorb it. And then we got through there, we went, you know, had lunch in Chinatown. Then we went down to a movie house on Canal Street where I was introduced to, we called them Chinese fighting movies. They weren't kung fu movies at that time.
Right.
In the 1960s. And you just got to know, to go to a Chinese movie in China or in Chinatown, it's really an interactive experience. You know, the audience doesn't sit there calling, chewing popcorn.
I don't know. I don't think I could watch them though, because like whenever I watch a movie, I like it to be silent. In fact,
You wouldn't enjoy it.
I would enjoy it. They comment on everything essentially.
Huh?
Do they comment on stuff? I mean,
Yeah.
just-
Or when there's a fight scene, they're all up there fighting, you know.
they're fighting too.
Huh?
They're fighting too.
The audience?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah. Except one time, and this was in China, my students, I taught English, so I had English students. And I did Tai Chi with them because they all studied the 24 form, posture form. And I learned that because of them. I learned it from my 91-year-old teacher, and he taught me what he did with that same form.
Right.
And I learned that so I could do it with them, and I was able to do it with my students. Well, you know, we had a good relationship, and they would come to me. They just burst into my room, and they say, "You come, we go," and they grab me and they pull me out, and they were going to a kung fu movie. Well, they didn't call it kung fu movie then either.
Right.
You know, we know you're interested in these. We take you. So they could take me to this kung fu movie, and this one we went to. It started in New York City, and it started in Washington Park, Washington Square, down in the Village. And this group of black guys came up. You know, that was the beginning of the movie. And this one guy recognized, He had a big afro, and everything. And I'm watching this movie, and as it goes along, all of a sudden, and this was in China, all of a sudden, a teacher of mine, Dennis Brown, who has our kung fu school in Washington, and a tournament, I don't know, the DC championship or something.
Right.
And I recognized him, and I jumped up, and I said, Dennis Brown! I hollered at the screen, and everyone turned around. I mean, they got quiet, because this crazy foreigner was now doing what they do, you know what I mean? Yeah. Oh, I feel it. But I'll never forget Dennis Brown in China. I didn't know that he studied, he did movies in Taiwan because of his skill. He studied Tian Shan Pai with Willie Lin at the time in America. Anyway.
So, your time doing martial arts, obviously years, you got 50 plus years doing it. Now, when you were learning, how much time did you dedicate per day? Because, you know, a lot of people are like, oh, I've been doing this for 40 years, but I'm like, oh, you've been doing it once a week, you know, as a hobby, part-time. Clearly, this is not a hobby for you. This has been a lifestyle.
No,
martial arts is.
From the year 1975, this has been my avocation and my quest and my obsession to a degree. This meeting of Tai Chi, when I met William Chen in his school, this was in the evening of that same day I was talking about.
Right.
And this was my introduction to Tai Chi, but I didn't know what it was. I mean, I knew, you know, there was some, you know, Taekwondo, karate chop or something, you know, I didn't know what it was. But my friends were studying it. And so I went there, and I was very, very motivated to pay attention because of them. But what I saw just thrilled me, and it was the movement. And it was the movement. What I first was introduced to was a two-person work, right? Which we call push hands, equivalent of sparring. But I don't want to get deep into that.
Yeah, that'll be a different podcast. Yeah.
But
we're just talking about your training, because you told me.
Yeah. That in that meeting, when I got back to Virginia from New York, I wanted to study Tai Chi. It took me 6 years to find a teacher. And the teacher happened to be a kung fu teacher who was a friend of mine who had said he had studied. He said, I know you want to study Tai Chi, and I've just learned some. So I studied with him. I started studying with him in 1970, so it took me 6 years. So I have been training, practicing, and teaching in this art for 49 years now. Right? Yeah, 49 years. So if we'd done this next year, it'd be 50 years. We'd have a century.
That's pretty good, man.
Yeah. If we did 2 years with it, I'd be 80. So, you know what I mean? I wouldn't even be able to sit here probably with all my Tai Chi training.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and when I studied, you know, I was like you, but not quite as hardcore as you. You know, you really, you know, I've known you from the TKF school, right? We rented space there. And, but I was a little on the arch. I really wanted to learn this. And then later, after 5 years, I went to China for the first time. And I brought what I had learned to China. And what I had studied was, what Tai Chi people would know this, is the Zhou school, the Zhou 37 movement form. And I brought that there, and I remember one park I was in, and these three men, an older guy who I learned was a master, the teacher, a middle-aged guy, and a younger guy. They came up and they followed me. And I felt pretty big. I just didn't know how bad I was, you know? But they just thought, well, this guy, this foreigner, he's doing something that we recognize.
Yeah.
It's like a monkey,
Yeah.
doing martial art or something. See, but I didn't know that, and anyway, that was very important. That those after that first 5 years of training and doing, I went to China with it and saw what the people do there, and did it with them. Very unusual, because we had just opened up to China maybe 2 or 3 years before that. 73, I think, is when Nixon opened up contact with China, and we started to deal with them on an equal basis. But to be able to go there and do it was just, at that time, was very big for me, for sure.
And you said 3 years. You did a lot in that 3 years.
Now, that 3 years, I was hired by a school to come and teach English. Well, that's what they said, but it was really, they wanted an English speaker to teach their students who already knew English. They just didn't know, well, how do you say this in America? And so, what was I saying?
You were talking about the amount of time that you trained in when you were a teacher, so I guess that afforded you.
So the school that I was in, they wanted to accommodate me because it was hard to get teachers to come to China at that time. They were mostly young kids with bachelor's degrees, which means they got paid less, and they had to sleep together. Where I had an apartment or a room by myself, and got paid more.
Education pays, guys. Go to school.
Yeah. So that's what you got to do. It works for everything. Martial art, everything else. School, you get education, you can't beat. So, I keep getting off.
I know, I got you off, man. I'm sorry. Yeah, we were talking about your school made accommodations for you.
They did. So they moved my classes up into the afternoon and evening that I taught, and I had the mornings to myself. And so I studied from 5 o'clock in the morning, and that's another whole story we're going to talk about, I hope, with Grandfather Din, my teacher. But I got up at 5 o'clock. I got to the training area at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we trained until 8 or 9 in the morning. And then we went to a tea house on the mountain, and I sort of interviewed or, talked to Ye about his life, like you're doing to me now, actually.
Speaking of tea, Chinese tea, straight from China, it's pretty good, man.
Green tea.
It's a green tea, right?
So
the tea house.
So that 3 hours a day, what it got me thinking was, if I had trained 3 hours a week, if I had classes 3 hours a week, that was extraordinary. It's hard for my students and your students to have the time to do more than one class. And one class, my classes are an hour and a half, other classes are an hour, but it's not much. And there's only so much you can do in an hour or an hour and a half. So you got to hit little bits of this, a little bits of that, little bits of this. And it's difficult. People need to just train. At a later date, I'll talk about a wushu school that I was taken to, where little kids from, let's say 1st grade to 12th grade. And that training is intense. That's the government school, by the way, the government martial arts school. Okay. But it's as intense as can be. It's a way of life.
Right.
It's a way of life.
That's the way it should be.
That's the way it should be. That's the way you and I think.
Yeah, it's a way of life.
Like, we got to get my students to understand that.
We're working on it. We're working on it. Yeah.
No, they can't be hardcore like we were, or motivated in the same way that we were. But the ones that are, I have a few, and they're, I'm amazed at them. And I'm amazed at anyone that will stick with this. And it's a difficult thing to do. Yeah. Which again, we'll get to it another day.
Not as simple as most people think, but it's fun.
Oh no. That's the truck. The trucks are the battery. The trucks are the man right there.
So, So you've been, after you started doing, you started teaching. So how long have you been teaching?
I would say I've been in the Chinese martial art for 49 years. And I would say 44 of them I've been teaching.
Okay.
And judging. We'll get to that too, I think, in a minute.
Yeah.
So most of that time, and as a matter of fact, not probably, I was teaching what I had no business teaching. But it was because 50 years ago, Tai Chi was becoming popular, but no one knew really what it was.
Right.
And I remember Easy Rider, which was in 1969, I think. Yeah, that was like 10 years later. A long time later, you were seeing Tai Chi. There was just a little demonstration on in a hippie commune. I don't know if you ever saw that movie or not, Easy Rider.
And I know how, but I don't really remember it.
Yeah, well, anyway,
I've seen a lot of movies.
That 1969 was a big thing to see your art on the big screen. You're not going to see it on television then. So you had to recruit people, and then try to teach them things that you knew that you didn't know. You didn't know it, but you thought, well, I know this much.
Right.
And when I found out how much I didn't know, it's a rude awakening. Very embarrassing, but anyway, that's just.
You were like, I don't know everything. I just know more than you. And that's the bare minimum to get by. Is just to know more than the other guy. Which I do feel like that happens a lot. And sometimes, there are a lot of people who start teaching who are just kind of ignorant of teaching. Would you say that you were in that boat when you first started?
For a long time.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah. Me too, man. I had to figure it out by trial and error.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. I've still got a lot to learn. I haven't been teaching for as long as you have, man. 44 years.
I had one of my teachers, Joseph Yawn. He gave Jay Dunbar and myself a lesson here. We would bring him here to our school, Magic Toilet School. At that time, I was teaching. And we would bring Mr. Joe in, maybe quarterly or twice a year for a weekend workshop. He taught up in New Jersey. And what was that?
So you're talking about teaching, and you brought in a guy named Joe.
Joseph Yawn.
Okay.
And the last lesson that he gave us here. And the lesson that he gave was go back fundamentals. It happened to be the lesson. And I thought I knew fundamentals. I didn't know anything about fundamentals. And that's very important. Very important in Tai Chi. It's because it's not the technique, not the techniques of fighting, not the martial techniques. But the techniques are done with the fundamentals, by the fundamentals, through the fundamentals. So it's very important, fundamentals. And I wasn't teaching that. And he opened my eyes to that fact, but it still took me 3 years later when I went to Alaska with a student of mine who had opened up a school there, and I saw what he was teaching exactly what I taught him 20 years before. And it appalled me. Not what he was teaching, because he was teaching what I taught him.
Right.
What appalled me was that I thought that I knew what I was doing and could teach this. You see? I thought you were going to grab him. Don't grab him.
It has a stinger. Yeah, I wasn't going to do it. It was a big bee.
Yeah, close your mouth too when they come by.
Yeah, that was definitely.
They go in there, man. Yeah.
All right, so you were talking about you had a school in, you said Washington, or Arizona?
In Norfolk, Virginia is where, and the first school I was in was called Tidewater Tai Chi Center. And we kind of split up, and then I started my own Tai Chi club, Tidewater Tai Chi Club. And that's where I met Jay Dunbar, and I came down here for the first time in 1981, and that's when I met Mr. Joseph Yawn. Anyway, what he taught me was you don't know what you think you know. And then it still took me years to get through that, to really find out, oh man, I better study. I got to do another whole study. Because form is not really what's important. And when I started, I thought that form that I saw in William Chen's school, that was the magic thing. When you learn that, you get, you know, magic chi or something comes from
Right.
you know.
And so, so you not just have done martial arts and taught martial arts, but you are a judge, which means that other martial arts take you as a kind of an authority as far as the different martial arts you know about them, right? So it's not just the ignorant people that can see that you know stuff. It's the people who are already in the industry that recognize that you know what you're talking about. So how long have you been judging?
Okay, well, I judged for 18 years, and then I sort of quit, but I got out of it. And the reason that I got into it was because I was in 2 tournaments. I competed in China in 2 tournaments. And I competed in weapon and hand form. I didn't compete in sparring or the equivalent to sparring. And at that time, the tournaments had a Taiji division or a Taiji event. But it was mostly for older people. And then they didn't have push hands. If you knew push hands and you were good at it, then you would join the regular contest, you know, fighting contest.
The sparring. Yeah.
And the sparring. And if you really had some good skills with Taiji, then it helps you. But it didn't have a event all by itself. That came later. But when I really did have 2 wonderful experiences in Wuhan, in Hubei province. One was a provincial tournament that was inside, and it was big. It was a big deal, and they didn't, all during that Cultural Revolution, they didn't hold tournaments. The first tournament they held was 1980, I think. That they brought back. They've been holding tournaments in China for hundreds of years, but the communists sort of did something to that. And anyway, that's not the whole thing. So those 2 tournaments I was in. When I came back, when I left to go to China, there was no Taiji tournaments in America, or very, very few even events were there, because most of the tournaments were Taekwondo and Karate. But when I came back, there was, and I was asked or allowed to judge based on not what I knew, but that I was in tournaments in China, basically.
Okay.
So my learning about judging took place, and I had a couple of really wonderful mentors, if I can mention them, Nick Grayson and I blanked out of his name now. Sam Massage. And they really helped me to learn what I was judging. And that's where I learned, that's where I started to really learn about fundamentals, because that's what you judge in a Taiji tournament. You don't judge on the technique of the fighting, you judge on how the technique is applied, how it's applied and used.
Right.
You know, so, and when you get to see someone do a form, be it weapon or hand, or even in the push hands, because they had push hand contests, but there were maybe 2 bouts of a minute and a half. So that's not a whole lot of time. And you had to be able to see what was going on enough to make judgments on, let's say you got strings of 10 people, and they're doing the same form, or they're doing, same kind of form. Well, you got to see it's not the form that makes them different, it's how they do it. And that's fundamentals. And then what are they doing? Do they show intent? That's function. So there's fundamentals, form, and function. And I learned that, in this relearning what I had thought I knew. You know what I mean? And it came across a page of mine the other day, yesterday, that a teacher teaches a student how to learn. He teaches them how to unlearn, and he teaches them how to relearn. And that's what I like to do. I like to relearning. The actual learning, that should be for apprentices. That should be, for people who like to teach form.
Right.
And I've taught form for too long myself. But I do love to correct. I do love to get that layer inside of people who already know something. And that layer is usually the layer of fundamentals. That's what's missing in most of Tai Chi in America.
Right. But you're not just limited to Tai Chi, you also did Kung Fu, right?
I did because
I wasn't called Kung Fu.
Because I studied it in China with Ye, because he was not a Tai Chi master or teacher. He taught Tai Chi, he taught the form that I teach now. It's called Wudang Shan Yi Bai Lingba Tai Chi Chuan. Wudang Mountain 108 Tai Chi Chuan. But that was just one of many forms that he taught. And that's where I learned that basically, again, there in that culture, that Tai Chi is not something separate. We separate it here. So we have the external and the internal. And we don't know what either of them are. So that I have had teachers in Kung Fu, directors of schools tell me that their students can do Tai Chi because they can do slow Kung Fu. That's what he said.
Yeah. But it's not slow Kung Fu.
Huh?
It's not slow Kung Fu.
Not slow Kung Fu. No, it's slow, but the slow part is training part. It's training to focus on important fundamental that you cannot do when you're doing something fast or at normal speed, kind of thing. So we don't know what it is, and we just don't know. Yeah? So Tai Chi is something separate, but it's not something separate. It's on a continuum of training, and you got to get to it you start at middle age, but you got to get to it because I don't care who you are, unless you have it, you're not going to be 91 and do anything with it. But I know, and I have experienced 91-year-old teachers that are just incredible. As formidable as you can imagine. That an old person, they don't just do form, but they also don't just do Tai Chi. So they do the whole range.
Right.
They start with the external, learn the techniques, learn the skills involved. It's not just slow. In fact, slow is a really joke because everyone knows that Tai Chi is slow. But when you study it, everyone does it fast. I mean, I can't get them to slow down. But it's slow. Slow down. Mind, slow. So 4 principles of mind is slow, low, empty, whole body. And then all the training goes around those 4 points. But the slow part is to train the other 3, basically, to me. It's only to me.
The big thing that I think I want to know, and I think everybody wants to know, is why do we call you LaoMa?
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that's a big one, guys.
I can't do anything simple. Okay, so
we got time. We're all right.
We got time.
As long as you got time.
If we haven't lost them by now, we got them. They're still there. If they're not there now, then they can come back and get it later.
I mean, you kind of brushed a little bit of this at the beginning when you were talking about mom meaning horse. Right. So we're halfway there, guys.
Kind of there. Yeah. So, in graduate school, I had been doing Tai Chi for almost a decade before I went to graduate school. And it just made me think when I said 69 was back in the 60s. And I was just thinking it was much further ahead. But in graduate school, I took Chinese language for 2 years. And this teacher that I had, and she was a blind white woman, American, who had lived and studied in Taiwan. And because Chinese language is a tonal language, she was absolutely perfect, because she could hear. But anyway, in her class, everyone chose or were given a Chinese surname. Now there's like 100 official surnames. So unlike us, where all of our names, our surnames come from many different countries, they're all over the place. The Chinese have a limited amount of surnames, and they're very meaningful. So like I was saying, Ma usually denotes a minority Chinese person, a minority, a Mongol or a Uyghur or a horse person, and that Ma, the translation is horse. But when you have the name, it's not like having the name horse. Well, it's not like in English you have the name carpenter. You don't think that, I don't nail things together.
Right.
You don't think that. You just think, my name is Carpenter. Well, that's the way the Chinese do with their names. But I wanted the name, usually you take it from a syllable in your English name. So like mine is why I say Lam Ma Ro, because there's 3 syllables. I'm just thinking of Chinese. But anyway, La wasn't a official surname. Ma was, so I got the surname in the class, Ma. And that stuck with me from those graduate language classes. And then when I was given a full Chinese name from a painting teacher, he just tagged on the first name that he gave me, Anzhou, onto Ma. And again, the Chinese name, surname comes first, and not last like ours. Everything is the opposite, by the way. Whatever you say, well, what do they do in China? What do you do here? They do the opposite.
Right.
Just the opposite. So my Chinese name was Ma Enzo. And when I went to teach in China, in my very first class, and the classes were big, like 60 or more students, all crammed together. And I stood in front of these people, and I'm a little, this is my first class, and these are kids, freshmen. And I'm a little shaky, but I can't show it, And by the way, I don't have a fan here, but I had a fan. You pop it.
Right.
So, and I had the fan, because you had, Wuhan hot as hell in the summer, and I was there in August. I started in August, September. So you take this fan out and you fan yourself. But I learned the fan form in America, so I could do something with it. And this very first class, I said, okay, how am I going to handle this? All right. So I said, my name is English name, I'm Anzo Lamro. But my Chinese name, and I was drawing the fan out, I said, it's Pa! It's my Anzo. And all those kids, they're all leaning over each other, looking at me, kind of smiling like, what's this guy know? What is he going to do? They weren't as respectful as they became, because when I popped that fan, I stood up. That's true. And then I turned around to the board and I wrote my name in Chinese. I could write some Chinese, because I had been studying calligraphy, but I could write my name. So I wrote my name, Ma Enzo. So right away, I was called by the students, English students, the school that I taught in, which is a finance and economics school, the first one. Second one was more like a teaching school. But my name, what you do, Lao that means, that translates as old. Old in China, and in the Far East in particular, doesn't have the connotation of old in America. You're old and you're used up and time to go to bed in the dirt kind of thing.
Right.
No, not that. So you're called, your title usually, Lao Shi is teacher. But then they put Lao on your surname, so LaoMa. LaoMa is what they started calling me. To the point where everyone in China that I knew would call me LaoMa. In fact, people knew my name just knew me by. I had a reputation because I studied with Din Hong Wei, and everyone knew that. And everyone knew that, and I was recognized by whoever I was with. I could be in another part of the city, and people would recognize me as being Din Hong Wei's first foreign student. That's LaoMa, first foreign student. So everyone called me LaoMa. It wasn't just because I was old, 91-year-old teacher called me LaoMa. It just became a name, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So the Lao of my name, LaoMa Manzo, and that's one of my Chinese also like names. But the LaoMa is the literal translation is old horse. Like the guy on Bonanza, whatever that TV thing was. And so Lao is an interesting character because it means teacher, but it means so many other things. So the founder, so-called founder of Taoism, Lao Tzu, is just that name just means the old one, basically, something like that. You know, you translate it so differently, but it just means the old guy. And LaoMa, you know, it's just my name, but it really means teacher, ma, kind of thing. You see what I'm saying?
So it can, depending on the context, right? It can mean
Yeah.
either old horse or teacher horse, but is still horse?
No, it's not. It's not teacher. Yeah, the teacher comes from the connotation. It comes from where it's applied.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know an equivalent in our culture, but it'd be something like a teacher and professor. You know,
Okay.
they don't do the same thing,
Right.
but one means a higher level or something like that.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But, so that became my name in China, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Because I got it in America from a Taiwan teacher. The name Ma Enzo. The Ma came from a blind American woman who taught Chinese language. But I've carried them now for almost 50 years.
Okay.
And you know, when I went to China and then everyone was calling me that really struck me. It made me feel good.
It's cool, man. So to be clear, LaoMa is not a Tai Chi thing. It's not a title. That is him. Okay, so is there any likelihood that there is another LaoMa out there?
Oh yeah. Oh sure.
So there's several other LaoMas. So I don't know, man. I think you're the only one, man. I think you should be like the Highlander, man. There can be only one. You're the only LaoMa for me.
Yeah. Well, I am for a lot of people, myself included. You know what I mean? Because I'm the only white guy. I was just thinking of something. Where were we at?
Oh, we were talking about your name.
We're
How cool
kind of wrapping it up. But
Yeah,
we
wrapping it up.
yeah.
And so, like I said, you're the only LaoMa for me, man. You're my first one. I'm always going to think of you as LaoMa.
Oh, okay. So in mainland China, communist China, they did away with titles. So they called everyone, depending on your age, LaoMa or Xiaoma. Xiaoma means younger. So when you meet somebody for the first time, besides asking them how much money they make, which we never do, you ask them.
Well, they do the opposite, right?
Yeah,
So,
just the opposite.
yeah.
So they want to know how old you are. Again, something that we don't ask just everybody. But you're establishing your relationship. What you're going to call this person. Then they give you your name and you say Xiao or Lao. So it also is a honorific title given to someone who is older than you. And if you're younger, they call you Xiaoma. Two Ma's meet, and one Ma's old and one Ma's young, then you get Xiao or Lao Ma.
Yeah. Okay.
So again, Chinese language is a fascinating exercise. It really is. The writing of it, the speaking of it. And again, it has so much to do with, because it also, in martial art, they'll call us teachers Chinese Laoshi, as well as in many other titles.
Yeah.
So, and Shi is the teacher. There's one last thing the term master, I think you had that on your itinerary you were talking about, but when ranks and things like that.
Yeah, I forgot about that. It's all right. The short of the story, guys, there are no rank systems in Tai Chi. That's more of an American thing. But we're gonna talk about that just to kind of give you a background on Tai Chi. Well, we can do more of that later on.
Yeah, we can go into that.
Because we're bordering on an hour now. This has been great. I've had a great time.
But just very quick,
yes.
When we call someone Shifu, Shifu is very, very interesting. The Shur means teacher. It both, okay. There's two ways to say it. Fu. One is father. So if you call someone Shifu, but you know you're using the character for father, then that would be a master. If you say Shifu, that means, and it's the same tone, everything's the same. Say Shifu, but you know you're meaning a authorized, certified teacher. That's another thing. They're not a master. You just call them a teacher. Because a master, one of the things that's most critical to call yourself or to be called master is age. You got to have age. And although I'm approaching 80, I'm not there. I don't have the age thing yet.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's skill level. There's a lot of other things that go on with it, but the one critical factor is your age. You've got to be old. So there's no 40-year-old can be called master in China that I know of.
Interesting.
And of all the teachers that I've had, Chinese teachers that I've had, I don't know one that is called master or uses it themselves. So, and the one I do know is that first teacher that introduced me to Tai Chi, and I still know him today, and I studied with him in New York City later, many years later, a wonderful experience. And his students call him
massive. I'm just making sure I'm doing this on my laptop, making sure the screen doesn't go boop.
Oh, okay.
Got to set to go off.
So it's going to go up. Okay. So
well, it's not now. I reset it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So William is called Grandmaster, and when I met him, he was called William. Because he's only a few years older than I am right now. But I remember meeting him at a tournament, and I said one time, I hear you're Grandmaster, and you raised your rank to Grandmaster. He said, oh, my students call me. What are you going to do? But there's a reason why it's Master Joe. I never call him Master Joe, but he never called himself Master. He said, oh, well, I have a master's degree in mathematics, so you can call me Master.
Right.
But, they don't take those titles, or they take them seriously. And they're meaningful. And you don't just give it to anybody. Young person doesn't. You're not called a master. Here we do, because we have, Kung Fu and Tai Chi in America is American style.
Right.
Yeah. But it wouldn't be in China. Anyway, that's enough of that.
That was very cool, man. Lots to chew on.
Well,
lots of good stuff, man. I thank you so much, sir. Guys, this has been another epic Dragon Yawn. Okay, we got more to come because this guy has a whole wealth of knowledge. So it's just like the tip of the iceberg, man. This is great stuff. So
unless we start driving people away,
if we start getting like negative views or something like that, if nobody's watching, but we still this is still good stuff, man. And so join us next time for some more of the of Dragon Yawn and of this interview. Again, I'm Stephen Mike. This is LaoMa. We're in Black Bamboo Pavilion. It's a beautiful day, and I hope you guys enjoy, and I will talk to you later. All right. Bye.